Hello and welcome to Earth Echoes with Amber Fields. Today I would like to read the 22nd writing in Jason Gray's RZN series, the Resonance series. And this writing is titled The First 10 Days of the New World by Jason Gray. December 5th, 2025, 6025, Anno Lucis. What life is actually like after emergence. 10-day primus. The dawn cycle. Day 1, the silence that is not silence. Day 01, silent reality. The first day feels unreal, not chaotic, not overwhelming, not euphoric, silent. The silence is not absence, it is presence. You feel the world breathing again. You feel your nerves relaxing in ways they never have. The background hum of psychic static, which you never knew you were filtering, simply disappears. For the first time, your mind is not defending itself. People look around in awe, not shocked. Relieved. It feels like stepping out of a loud factory and into a forest clearing after a lifetime inside machinery. You can think, you can feel, you can perceive. Everyone senses that something fundamental has changed. Most people cannot articulate it. You can. Day 2. The world feels alive again. Day 02, Animus. On the second day, you begin to feel the world as a living field. Everything has presence. Stones, trees, water, air, architecture, the ground beneath your feet. The environment no longer feels dead or inert. It feels responsive. People walk slowly, touching surfaces, feeling resonance in their palms, noticing subtle pulses inside the space around them. Animals behave differently, more curious, more calm, more aware. The world feels conscious because it always was. You simply could not perceive it. Day 3, the beginning of human transparency. Day 03, open heart open. This is the first day when people begin to feel each other with an accuracy that is impossible to ignore. You know who is calm, who is frightened, who is hiding nothing, who is carrying old pain, who is awakening, and who is resisting. Conversations become softer, more honest, more direct. People speak from the center of their chest, not from defenses. There is no performative emotion, no social masks, no guarded small talk. You cannot fake your emotional state in the new world. Even people who never introspected a day in their lives become incapable of lying to themselves. This is the day the human species begins to relax. Day 4. The first synchronicity cascades. Day 04, alignment. On the 4th day, synchronicities start firing like lightning, not small ones, sequence level synchronicities. You think of someone, they appear. You need something, it arrives. You consider a direction, the world opens it. You wonder about a question, the answer comes through a stranger. This is not magic. This is the real's natural responsiveness replacing the overlay's latency. The world begins to operate like a mirror with zero delay. Your internal state and the external environment begin to match perfectly. This is the day people stop believing in coincidence entirely. Day 5, emotional cleaning and release. Day 05, unburdening. This day is often intense, not painful, liberating. The body releases decades of stored emotional compression. People cry without sadness, laugh without humor, shake without fear, exhale without trying. They are releasing what the overlay forced them to hold. Trauma does not resurface, it dissolves. This is the day people begin to feel lighter than they ever have. You can physically sense the weight leaving the collective field. Day 6, the return of childlike awareness. Day 06, innocence. On day 6, everyone becomes more perceptive, more curious, more open, and more present. It feels like childhood, but without confusion or vulnerability. Colors look brighter, faces look softer, the sky looks impossibly real. People notice details they have never seen before. The motion of air, the emotion behind a glance, the whisper of a tree bending, the way a building holds memory, the subtle resonance of sunlight. This is not regression. It is the restoration of the original perceptual bandwidth. Your senses come online without distortion. You feel like you are waking up inside a world you loved once, but forgot. Day 7, the field begins to talk back. Day 07, feedback. On day 7, something extraordinary happens. Reality becomes interactive. Not symbolically, not spiritually, literally. The world begins giving feedback in ways you cannot deny. You think of a direction, your body surges forward. You consider a question, the air around you shifts. You tune into the field, and it responds. You enter a room, and its resonance changes. This is the environment aligning itself to your state. You realize that the boundary between you and the world has always been artificial. Day 7 is where the separation illusion breaks. Day 8, humanity begins to cluster into resonance groups. Day 08, clustering. Without effort, people begin gathering with others who share their frequency. This is the first sign of the 3-species interlock grid forming. Luminous gravitate toward each other to stabilize emotion. Aeonists gravitate toward each other to stabilize time and decision. Infinitus gravitate toward each other to stabilize the field. Mixed groups form naturally. No leadership, no organization, no planning. It happens the way birds flock or schools of fish coordinate. Humanity begins reorganizing itself according to the original design. Day 9, the first glimpse of the original world bleeding through. Day 09, bleed through. On the 9th day, you begin to feel the reality behind reality. Moments where the light shifts, the geometry hums, the air thickens, the field becomes visible. Memory overlays onto present time. The ground feels charged, the world feels layered. This is your perception finally rising to match the true structure of existence. This is the day you first realize, I have seen this world before. You have, long before this lifetime. Day 10, the new world begins. Day 10, Genesis. On day 10, everything stabilizes. Humanity feels calm, grounded, coherent, awake, and aligned. The old world's emotional turbulence has vanished. Fear collapses to near zero. Confusion evaporates. People begin speaking from their true identity instead of conditioning. The environment feels stable, not chaotic. The field feels supportive, not overwhelming. You move through the world with a confidence you did not earn, a confidence that returns to you from before the fracture. This is the day humanity truly begins its life as a tri-species civilization. This is the day the return becomes real. The first 10 days after emergence are not dramatic. They are clear. They are simple. They are beautiful. They feel like remembering a world you once lived in, a world you never thought you would see again. This is the dawn. This is the reset. This is the return. You are one of the first to feel the new world forming. Jason Gray. That piece just makes me so happy. I love to read it, and I love to contemplate what Jason writes there. And quite honestly, I've been waiting for and feeling the coming of this emergence event that Jason writes of since like 2011. And I'm not afraid of this reset. I'm like, bring it on. We need it. As much as I know there's going to be painful parts of it, it excites me to reset to something more healthy, more true, more real, something that I will be able to resonate with at a much more healthy level. And I welcome the emergence with open arms, absolutely. And I think that people that do are going to have a lot easier time working our way through the reset. And I really related to these words of Jason's. It feels like stepping out of a loud factory and into a forest clearing after a lifetime inside machinery. And the reason I really resonated with that is because I've lived off the grid for most of my life. About 32 years of my life I've lived off the grid, and whenever I would go to town for school or other things, that's where my family would do all the commerce and everything like that. When I'd come home, it was like this exhale, like the frenetic energy of town, it would work my nervous system up. And then coming home to the woods where we lived and where I've lived most of my life, it just feels so much more natural and better. And this writing of Jason's really reminds me of that. And I think that is the true world, and the original world will have that feeling, like Jason writes, of being more real and true, and somewhere where your nervous system can relax and you can be more purely human. And I also really loved the part where Jason writes about nature being responsive, because that's something I've always felt as a forester. I've spent thousands and thousands of hours outside by myself, observing, and I have seen and witnessed and felt nature being responsive to me and to itself, to animals. And I think that in our pure state, we are more aware of that responsiveness, and we're able to observe it and feel it even more. And I've had a lot of animal encounters and synchronicities that really point to that responsiveness. I mean, some things are just absolutely incredible. And I have this book called Animal Speak. I meant to have it with me so I could show you, but it's called Animal Speak. And any time that I have an encounter in nature that's really powerful and seems meaningful or synchronous, I like to look that animal up in that book, Animal Speak, and contemplate what the book says about that animal and its energy and what it could mean for my life at that time. And there's been some really powerful, enlightening things that I've learned through doing that through life. And then there's also just like the weather. I feel like a lot of times weather has been communicative for me in my life, especially immediately after my brother died. I know that he communicated with me through lightning, and it was the most powerful thing I've ever experienced in this life, and the most powerful way that I've ever felt the other side and ancestors that are no longer with us was through that encounter with lightning. After it was less than 24 hours after he died. And I think that when humanity returns to our more natural state in this reset, when we rid ourselves of the veil that has been compressing and suppressing us, that encounters like this with nature are going to become just so much more powerful and obvious that we're all a part of the same system, and we're speaking to each other and reacting to each other. And I think that is going to lead to humanity being able to relax, like Jason writes about there. Our nervous systems are just so out of whack. I can feel it in so many people, and thankfully I've started to get more of a handle on my nervous system through using EMDR therapy. Biofield tuning, I feel like, has been a huge part of my nervous system being able to calm down and get me to a healthier, more sane place. And then I also really love where Jason writes about the childlike awareness, and that it feels like waking up inside a world you once loved but forgot. I've been feeling that in my life more lately, but it does seem like children are just that much more closer to that original world. I see it through my daughter, and I remember being that way as a child. And I think it is something that we are returning to, and we're going to continue to return to as we realize these emergent abilities in ourselves. And then lastly, I just wanted to say that I really also connected with humanity clustering and resonance groups. I have felt that happening ever since COVID. I think that was a great reset in and of itself, and my social circles definitely changed. And I've noticed still that when I communicate with people and meet people, there's this unspoken organizing happening based on our energy and our resonance. And so I just find that fascinating, and I love to try and encourage it in my own life and notice it and observe what's going on. I really feel the energy of other people, and I think the more that we are able to have introspection and be observant and quiet the mind, the more that we're able to do that. So thank you, Jason, for that beautiful writing, and thank you all for being here with me today. See you next time.